notes for today's class. So everybody's in Dyno. Here's what we're going to go over. All right, the first thing we're going to look at is the term parallel. Okay? What does parallel mean?
Two lines that will never touch.
Yeah, they never touch.
Two lines never touch. That's a good start. Okay? And what else do we know about them then if they never touch?
They never cross.
They have the same slope. They never cross, they have the same slope. Okay? The only thing that's different is where they cross the y-intercept. Okay? As you see up on this first slide, the top line, let's highlight it here in yellow. It's going to cross at what point? A -8. And the bottom line is going to cross at a -11. Okay, so that is an example of parallel lines. All right? In order to do this, in order to tell if these two are actually parallel, we have to calculate their slope. Now, it's easy for us if we have a graph. Okay? All we have to do is go back to our rise over run. So pick 2 points. Doesn't matter which two. Okay? I'm going to label this A. I'm going to label this B. And let's calculate the slope. Okay? The first thing I want you to do whenever calculating slope is start by going up or down. Okay? You'll always start with the point that's furthest to the left and then count, does the line go up or does the line go down? So which point is the furthest left? A. Okay, good. So now we need to determine, does it go up or down to get to point B? Down. How much does it go down? Let's count. Never start with the first point that's on the line. You always start with the next block after. So that tick mark is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it went down 5. If it goes down, it's a negative number, right? Okay. Then, how much does it go over or to the right? Count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that slope is a -5 over 5. What's that going to reduce to? A -1. Okay? I want you to calculate the slope for the next one. Let's say using these points, C and D. How much does it go up or down? Okay, how much does it go down? Okay, so down 2 is a -2. And then over, how much does it go over? 2. So -2 over 2 equals what? -1. So this is the slope of the blue line, and this is the slope of the yellow line. What do we notice about them? They're the same. So if they're the same and they cross at the different intercepts, those lines are parallel. Okay? Now, before we jump into perpendicular, I want to give you a review of different types of slopes. Okay? So the way I like to think about slope is I like to think of it as a skier. Okay? Say you're in Colorado skiing. All right? Now, we always start from left to right, just like we're reading a book. But let's look at this. A positive slope. Okay? If I was a skier and I started on the far left of our red line here, okay, what would I have to do in order to get up that hill? I'd have to climb, right? Or ride a ski lift or start climbing uphill, okay, ascending upwards. So if you're that skier starting on the left, you have to ride that ski lift all the way to the top, okay? So I'm going up to the top of the mountain, so that's a positive slope. It's going upwards, it's a positive number, okay? Now if we look on the second one, if I'm that skier, okay, right here, and I start on the far left, and I start on top of that red line, where am I going to go? Down, okay? So I'm going to go downhill, or down the mountain, or I'm going to descend down the hill. So I will be a negative slope because I'm going down the hill, okay? So that might help you when you're thinking about terms of positive or negative. All right? The line's going up, it's positive. Line's going down, it's negative. Now, some cases, these are two strange cases, okay? We get a very flat slope. Does everybody see that red line on the 0? That's a very flat slope here. So because of that, if I was the skier starting on the left, the only way to get to the right would be to walk straight forever, right? I wouldn't go up and I wouldn't go down. We call that a 0 slope, okay? A 0 slope. What you need to know about that is which line does it cross, the y-axis or the x-axis? The y-axis. So since it crosses the y-axis, an example of that as an equation will be y equals any number, so some number. Here's an example that I would write out. Something like y equals 4, okay, if it's up 4 units. All right? Now we move to undefined. Now, here's the deal with undefined. If I started at the top, what would happen to my skier? I would just fall forever into a black hole that never stops, and I would just keep falling. Okay? It's like a really bad dream, right? So, if I'm the skier and I fall down, and I never really walk, I don't go up, I don't go down, I'm just falling in like a free fall, we call that undefined because it's kind of one of those terms that we really don't have an answer for. It doesn't actually ever happen, so it's undefined, okay? So that's how I think of it. Now, which axis does this one cross? The x. So it's going to say x equals a number. An example of that would be like x equals positive 3, right? 1, 2, 3. Okay? So those are examples of how we think of slope. Okay? Next up, here's what I want you to do. I'm going to draw you a line, okay? And this line is going to be, let's put it on a grid. Okay, so here's a grid. Let's give you a line starting from this point and going to this point. Okay, so there's my line. It's here in black. Okay, starting at this point, this is dot A, this is dot B. Okay, so that's my line. I want you first to draw me a line perpendicular to it. And then second, tell me if you can draw a line, wait, did I say perpendicular? Yeah. See if you can draw a line perpendicular to it first. Okay? Perpendicular. What does that term mean? Alright, so perpendicular. Okay, write this down. Perpendicular. In order for a line to be perpendicular, not only does it have to cross, okay, but it has to cross at what? Okay, well check it out. This crosses, right, that blue line. That red line crosses. Okay, that highlighted line crosses. They all cross. But it doesn't mean it's perpendicular. If it's perpendicular, it has to cross at a 90-degree angle. Okay? So it has to cross or intersect at a 90-degree angle. Okay? What do you mean equal on all sides? All of them will be 90-degree angles if it's perpendicular. It'll be almost like a cross or a plus sign. Okay? Now it can be tilted one way or another, but it'll always be a 90-degree angle. Here's how you tell. Okay? The first thing I want you to do is find the slope from A to B. Okay? So let's count that. Is it going positive or negative? Positive, right? Our skier's going up. So we count how much does it go up? What'd you get? Did you get 9? I got 9. Okay? And then how many does it go over? Did you get 14? Okay? So 9 over 14. It's kind of a funky number, but that's our slope. Okay? It's a positive 9 over 14. That is our slope for this blue line AB. The slope is 9 over 14. Now, what I want you to think of whenever you see this term perpendicular is I want you to think of this. Does anybody know what this is? Close. A light bulb. Okay? And here's why I want you to think of a light bulb. Okay? We're going to use something I like to call flip the switch. Like you're flipping on a light bulb. Okay? Here's what we do. In order for them to be perpendicular, their slopes have to be opposite reciprocals. Opposite reciprocals. Now, sometimes they'll also call this negative reciprocals. Means the same thing. here's how you can tell if the slopes are opposite reciprocals and if the lines are perpendicular. Start with the slope of a line that you're given. So we have 9 over 14. The first thing I want you to do is flip the numbers. Here's our flip. So when we flip the numbers, 14 goes to the top and 9 is at the bottom. Does everybody see that? Okay. Then the second step I want you to do is I want you to switch the sign. So if it was 14 over 9, that's a positive sign. Now it's going to become a negative. Okay? So this would have to be the slope of a line perpendicular to AB. Wouldn't make both negative, because both negative would be a positive, and that's the same sign as we already had. Okay? You're just switching the overall sign. So let's take this one for instance. Okay? Here's an example. All right? If I gave you this slope, negative 2 over 3, and let's say this is line AB. Okay? It's its slope. What is the slope of a perpendicular line to AB? Flip it, becomes 3 over negative 2, and then switch the signs. So a negative number becomes a positive, so it becomes 3 over 2. Okay? Do you see how we do that? All right, very good. So that's perpendicular. All right? Last slide I really want to show you guys.
Wait, so the 2 that you said, that's the one that is perpendicular?
Yeah, this would be the slope of a line perpendicular to AB. Slope of a line.
So if they ask you what line is perpendicular,
You could use it by finding the slope and making sure their slopes are opposite reciprocals, or flip the switch. Okay? So this would be the slope of a line perpendicular to AB. Okay? Now, last thing I want to show you is this slide. This is, again, calculating slope, how we calculate slope. So it's rise over run, which is the change in y over the change in x. So our change in our y values over the change in the x values. What you need to focus on is here in green. I'm going to highlight it. Okay? This is the formula for calculating slope. Okay? For instance, if they give you 2 points, okay? So let's just draw this up. Here's our formula, x2 minus x1, that's the change in x, over y2 minus y1. Musir, give me a point. Pick a number. 15. Pick another number. Negative 7. Okay, that's 1. Give me another number.
6.
6, and give me another number.
25.
I heard 4 first, sorry. Okay, so those are our 2 points. Let's say this is point A and this is point B. If we want to find the slope in between that line, all we have to do is use this formula. Okay, so we'll call this x1, y1, x2, y2. We're just finding the change in one over the change in the other. So what is our x2? 6. Then we have to subtract, okay, what is our 15? Okay, so we would subtract 15. We put that over, what is our y2? Negative 4. Okay, so negative 4. And then we subtract, what is our y1? Okay, so if we are subtracting a negative number, what are we doing? Adding a positive. Okay, so 6 minus 15, what does that get us? Does anybody know? Is it a positive 9 or negative? It's a negative 9. Okay, and negative 4 plus 7, positive 3. So negative 9 over 3 is a negative 3. So that's how you would find the slope when given 2 points. You're going to have to do that tonight on your homework. Okay? All right. But going back to this, there's one last thing we have to cover, and it's symbols. Okay? Does everybody see this bottom part that says symbols? That little 2 red lines, those are how we would say lines are parallel. So a way they would write that is they would say AB, that line is parallel to CD. Okay? So that symbol in the middle means parallel, and this symbol means perpendicular. So when you see something that's written like AB is perpendicular to CD, that's just the way they do it in shorthand. Okay? So those are our notes for today.